Well, thank you all for coming to the first listening session for.
Oh, microphones.
Oh, we'll pick you up, but these will enhance everything. Okay. Justine?
Hello.
Okay, thank you all for coming tonight to our first listening session. We're not my vocals here. For the Bayo Canyon Trailhead listening session project. So we're here to gather information from you. We know this is a very important project to the community and we really want to hear your ideas. We're starting with just our maps, and I'll introduce a little bit about our process. My name is Louise Janney. I'm a landscape architect with Groundwork Studio. I'm a principal there, and I've been in this field for over 30 years, and have done quite a lot of trail work with different organizations in Colorado and Nevada, building trails and bridges and all kinds of stuff. So I'm an avid hiker. I was better earlier, but so my name is Louise. This is Felipe. He is a designer at Groundwork Studio, and he is going to be kind of our key design person on this project, and we'll see it through all the way to the end. So you have our undivided attention tonight. I wanted to just briefly explain how we kind of work with our design process. So we start off with our early community meetings, gathering information from you about the site, what the site managers are charged to do, and all of the kind of site relative information. So we can synthesize that into a program, and then we come back to the community and talk about our development as the concepts start to evolve. We start with hand-drawn sketches, and we just loosely explore different ideas. This is a little park information. Then we start looking at, once we have decided on particular direction for the conceptual design, then we bring and work with any other engineers that we need to make sure that we're developing the project safely. And we start modeling the surroundings and trying out different types of arrangements of elements, landscape, hardscape, lighting, the whole complete package. Once that's been selected and approved by the organizers, then we get into the schematic design, and that's where we really start to do more of the pretty pictures. And we render the program and explore all of the materials, and get a chance to look at the overall character of the project. Once that is complete and where everybody's satisfied to move forward, then we go into construction drawings, and then it'll go out to bid to a contractor. So with that, I will turn things over to Felipe, and he's going to talk more about the site and our scope of work.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, can we go to the next slide, please? Sweet, so just want to give, sure all of you are familiar with this place, but just starting with kind of grounding the site that we're looking at, giving a brief overview. So left-hand corner is going to be just a broader context map of Los Alamos. Might be a little hard to see from back there, but the orange dot, letter A, is going to be the Bayo Canyon Trailhead. So just situating you there. And then on the right is a more zoomed in graphic of kind of the North Mesa area. You can see Bayo Canyon's up in the left-hand corner. And we just want to provide that context because we know that there's a lot happening in that North Mesa region with the master planning that's going on. So we expect there will be a little bit of conversation, a separate project, but a little bit of conversation about how this project might work with that. Go ahead, next slide. So these are some site photos we took when we kicked off the project. We visited the site, I think it was on a Wednesday at like maybe 1 p.m. during the weekday. And one thing we noticed was that even at that hour, the parking lot was pretty well used. And one thing to note in particular was that you have cars parking on the opposite side of the sidewalk. So even at this kind of like what I would generally assume is a lull during the day, you have a good amount of use and a little bit of conflict there, a good amount of conflict in terms of pedestrian and parking. So that's something that we keyed in on just in our initial observation, something that we'll want to talk about providing solutions to better have safety and access for pedestrians. Yeah, one thing to note is, I'm sure a lot of you are aware, is there's a lot of sloping conditions on the site. So obviously coming off of North Mesa Road, you have a pretty steep incline, and then turning off of that, you've got another slope turning in the parking lot that we'll have to kind of navigate as we're looking at design solutions. And we know that there's off of the sidewalk, off of number 3 in that graphic is a sledding hill. So we are aware that that's an important kind of community asset to keep in mind as we move forward. And what else do we have here? Just generally speaking, because of those slope conditions, ADA improvements are going to be something that will be a challenge. But we do have to meet certain like federal code when it comes to creating ADA access with the parking access points. It doesn't necessarily mean that there has to be ADA from the parking lot to the trailhead specifically, but that all is kind of dependent on the programming that we land on for the site. So if we go to the next slide, when we're brought into the project, some of the scope of work that we are investigating is again the pedestrian safety, ADA accessibility to meet federal regulations, parking improvements to reduce some of that conflict with pedestrians, and we've also heard that when it's really busy, people will park on the opposite side of North Mesa Road, and so then you're having people having to cross that busy spot. So that's on our minds. Other things we're exploring are bathrooms, would be like a pit toilet, something like you might see at a state park or something like that. Picnic tables with or without shade structures, waste receptacles, including dog waste bags, hitching posts, and horse trailer parking. So those are all kind of things that we're wanting to hear from you all, what the interest level is in each kind of one of those objects of programming, and what makes sense to you, what doesn't make sense to you, where there's a big need and not. And so again, this is really just us trying to get as much information from you all how you currently use the site and what improvements you think need to be prioritized, especially with that safety and access in mind. Do you have anything to add?
Just to note, and I'm sure you're all aware of this, that it is a hub of activity here with connections under the roadway over to a park system across the street from the golf course, as well as other kind of different trails up on the rim, down in the canyon, as well as sidewalks. So we realize that we're converging a lot of activity in what's now a fairly confined and restricted space. So we've been asked to work with you to explore this scope of work or program elements. What's missing? What would you like to see there? And how are you using the site? How is it functioning, not functioning? So that we can, fold all that input into the next step would be to explore different layouts and, you know, testing out how the different program could work out best for everyone. So I'm gonna take notes on, your input. So we're gonna open it up.
Do you want to add something for?
No, I was just gonna take a mic and.
Go around.
Yeah, we'll open it up to discussion here. Anyone has any questions, comments?
Speaking of the mic, we have people online and this is the best way for them to hear.
Yeah, my name's Louis Schulte. I guess one of the comments that Louise just made about a hub, I'd like to amplify that. That there are many people in transit on the trails through this area. And that we should work as far as possible to allow those flow paths to be unrestricted in spite of adding a parking lot to it. As many people start their hike or their walk elsewhere and just pass through that tunnel in both directions as they're going. So that's an important thing that I think you should keep on the list. My second comment would be, it's not a pristine canyon, but it's a primitive canyon, and I'd certainly like to see it stay as primitive as possible on the trails themselves. So that's my two pieces of input.
Sure thing. Just to reiterate, so you're kind of focusing in on keeping that connectivity between all of the different uses that people are kind of drawn to that space with, not kind of like impeding into that, the way people are moving through that space.
Right.
With implementation parking or something like that.
We don't want the new parking and new amenities to obstruct people that are trying to get through in transit,
Sure.
that don't start their hike right at this spot.
Cool.
My name is Mark Griffiths. I just wanted to clarify the scope of this project that we're talking about is just for the trail there. Right there, at least in the PIIP, there's a red line that's around the area that we're discussing. It does not include the trails that go into Bayo Canyon. Is that correct?
Exactly, yeah, we're not doing any trail work. We're not pushing. There's number 7 is that trailhead sign right there, like we're definitely not pushing anywhere over there. I think where it says low point and stuff like that, I think that's where maybe it's more of a conversation regarding what programming desires and needs are, in terms of if people are like really keen on wanting a forest trailer turnaround or something like that, because that might be a space you just looking at it, like that's where there might be space available to do something like that. But other than that, we're not pushing into the trail system at all.
Okay, and with that in mind then, and especially with what Mr. Schulte was just saying regarding trying to eliminate obstructions, and one of the amenities that is included in the scope, or at least for discussion, is a parking lot. Where would such a parking lot go, given the topography of the area?
Yeah, at this stage, I think without, like, we don't have a site survey yet. So that's gonna be the next steps, is getting that information so we can really see what grades we're working with. And then just being informed by what feedback we're getting tonight, if it's even worth how much energy to even investigate, how would we get down there? So I think, oh, yeah, here you go.
I just wanted to add to that, we'll be working with the county on trying to understand the level of use for, a parking lot, like, so how many spaces would there be? And there's certain factors that we definitely want to address, and that's safety. We don't want, to have anybody hit on that sharp pin turn. We wanna be able to provide enough parking for people who do wanna use that as their trail start point and address the variety of different users. So at the next rendition that we do, we'll be looking at, incorporating some of that, how much demand are we expecting? And how much can we actually serve, given the constraints in the site? We'll know a lot more after we have the survey.
Okay, and then one more comment, with respect to the user groups that are being considered for the trailhead there. In the planning documents that I've looked at, you mentioned the hikers, the bicyclers and the equestrians. You mentioned the sledders, but that's a completely different user group. And I think that that'll be considered as well, especially when it comes to laying out the amenities that are gonna be included, especially in the lower area there. That's exactly where the sledders head. And I'd hate to have one of them run into a vault toilet.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you.
Hi, my name is, Jerry Cowan. I'm on the Parks and Recs board for, the county. So, I've been involved with, discussions concerning a lot of the different park projects that are going on North Mesa. You're probably aware of, the master plan for the park area out by the stables. And then also there's currently working on a plan for the, picnic grounds on North Mesa. Are you familiar with that one also? Right, and amongst people I've talked to, some who are here tonight, some who aren't, there's been this idea kicking around of using the picnic ground area as a trailhead. I mean, you've already got flat area for parking, you've already got a vault toilet, you already have picnic shelters. And you don't have the issues of dangerous intersection coming out of that Bayo Canyon trailhead area right into the roundabout and people coming down the hill and coming up the hill. So anyway, I know there's a lot of conversation about this, and this is something that, you know, since you guys are specifically focused on just this Bayo Canyon trailhead at this location, this is maybe not something that you guys can necessarily on your own take into account. But this is something that people that I have talked to in the community have talked about quite a bit, passed the idea around. And it would be nice to see all of these different projects on North Mesa tied together, you know, a trail that connects all of them all the way through into town out to the new park. And maybe locating this trailhead up on top instead of down in this location. So anyway, just to let you know, that's a conversation that goes on.
Thank you.
My name is Lloyd Brown, and I don't know if you've seen the Galisteo Basin Preserve parking lot. It's really well laid out, and I'm looking at it from the perspective of horse trailers. And there they have a lot more you can fit here, but at least 30 to 40 car parking. And then there's room for at least 3 horse trailers with pickups full. And it's very effective. It's the same sort of thing. It's a nexus of trails. It's a pit toilet. And it serves bikers, hikers, and equestrians. So to me, it's kind of a nice place to look and just get some ideas. And then speaking of, I think I heard somebody say, you know, what would be the maximum usage of people living there? And I have a lot of friends that come to visit me to ride horses. And typically they bring up 2 to 3 trailers at a time. And so that's a ballpark figure. I don't know if that's a correct perspective, but typically when I have friends come up from Albuquerque to meet me here, it's 2 trailers. So that's gonna be an F-150 size pickup, like a 16 to 24 foot trailer. So that's actually a complicated thing to back up or move around, and so it might not be able to fit in there, but at least it's a data point.
Yeah, that's very helpful. And I think to previous gentleman's point, I think our question is towing that kind of weight trailer and the grades we're working with, even if we can find a good path down in there? In poor conditions, are they gonna be able to get out of there? Is it good?
And then a follow-up,
Sure.
yeah, a follow-up question too, I really like the idea that Mr. Cowan mentioned about tying it all together. From a horse perspective, I can't get down the canyon right now with a horse unless I put spikes on his feet. Can't do that. But this right here, if I can get to there, I can get to just about anywhere in the county trail network. Because the Lassie Sea Trail and the Water Bars Trail is their little miniature glacier, but even right now, which is a very dry time of year. But if you can get a horse to that point, then you're wide open. You can go anywhere.
So what I'm hearing is a bunch of the trail system becomes kind of inoperable for horses at a certain time of year during the winter.
Yeah, our only access is off the stable area into Bayo Canyon, and there's two trails that are functional. There's a couple of bushwhack trails that in the summer, but right now, none of them work. So, and this is right now, when there's almost no snow. So this is a very attractive advantage to have a question access point there.
Thank you.
Have to be a little bit cautious here maybe, but while ADA compliance and goals are certainly admirable and useful, I think there are situations where they're maybe not particularly practical. And in this situation, I'm thinking of, this is a trailhead that all the trails, to my knowledge, at this time are not ADA accessible trails. They're not ADA compliant trails. And I don't think anybody ever foresees them ever becoming that. So I'm not sure it would be appropriate to especially expand a lot of expenditure for ADA standards and compliance where it's not clear that there's any reason for having.
Thank you. Yeah, there are kind of a different set of ADA standards particular to outdoor recreation areas. And some of the thresholds are different, less strict. But that's something that it also depends on what amenities we start introducing. If we start introducing certain amenities like picnic areas and stuff, then it's like, yeah, those need to be by federal law, those need to be made ADA accessible. So there are certain things that can also, I guess, trigger when the more stringent standards are applied versus not.
Ooh, looks like it's my turn. I'm Jennifer Leon. I live here in Los Alamos. I use that trailhead all the time, but I'm always on foot. So I bring kind of a pedestrian's perspective here. I'm really concerned with the idea of putting parking in the bottom there and a road. They're going to be putting a road out into a very busy intersection. How do you foresee me doing that in a way that's not just adding danger to this? I do agree that we've sort of outgrown that trailhead in its current iteration. I think too many cars are using it and we do need to rethink it. But in my mind, and I've heard talk about maybe like a horse trail going along the rim to give you guys access in the winter time. So then we wouldn't need more parking. You could have a trail to get to the trails that you want to use. To me, those are more sensible solutions than more parking, always more parking. So
Craig Martin on the open space working group. One of the discussions we've had in the last few months is a trail connecting North Mesa picnic grounds to this area here, be a multi-use trail that would allow access from the stable area for the equestrians to come all the way through. It's basically that yellow line that you have on there. There is an issue there that's kind of possibly within the project area.
We go to this. Sorry.
Yeah, the number 4 is basically the trail route. There's a steep section there that would have to have some adjustments made, perhaps a retaining wall to allow horse access to avoid the sidewalk there. But that's a consideration that a lot of the community members have supported.
So from location number 4,
Can you just say that again?
Yeah. Each.
It's where location number 4 is, that's a good approximation, cause that ends up at that residential development from there down to the trail. We can provide you some additional information with that, we've got a couple of renderings you can pull up.
And sorry, before we move on, can we go, sorry, to the next slide? And I just wanted to touch a little bit on the question you had asked, just to get a chance to respond. I think you're asking like, how can we potentially have, if we were gonna have a parking area in the lower lot, how do we mitigate? Not introduce more conflicts, essentially, is what you're asking, right? Just without a lot of, like, again, we don't have survey information where we don't have a lot of data to work with yet, but a lot of how I could imagine it would be the access down would follow the existing, somewhat the existing service road that's here. And I think that the pedestrian route would probably hug the outside curb of that so that it would be separated. And you would route the pedestrians along this north edge and have all the parking along the south edge. But again, this is like, I think it's kind of jumping the gun a little bit just because we're not in design yet. But yeah,
But even just from a motorized point of view, you're putting a stream of traffic going into that roundabout area, which is already a very busy intersection. So to me, it makes more sense, like, hey, have we outgrown this trailhead in this place? Maybe to me, it makes more sense to put it on the top of the mesa where there is existing parking rather than adding more traffic to an area that's very trafficked. If you're a pedestrian in this town, boy, you're taking your life in your hands every time you cross a road, and that is already a nasty area to have to come through on foot. And I think it's a very important area because it is a nexus for all those trails.
sure.
So, if that scenario was explored, what would be the vision for the trailhead that is in place right now? Because people still want to use it, even if you do provide another trailhead down the road. There still are safety concerns. People are used to using this trailhead, so we're still gonna have traffic coming in and for sledding and access, so do you see people just kind of abandoning this trailhead?
Well, I mean, I do see that people have used this trailhead and are used to using this trailhead, and I think solving this problem by moving the trailhead would need cooperation on the part of members of this community to come together and say, hey, we don't want another parking lot. What we'd like to do is just rethink this whole thing instead of putting something bigger in a place that we really, I think we've grown out of as a community. So I do think that it would take participation from every single member of the community to make it work. People have to give up this demand for convenience, and I always have to park right at the trailhead. Hey, I can do something today for our community and make it safer and better for pedestrians by taking an extra 5 minutes to walk from somewhere else. Is that asking very much? But I think it would take that. And I think it would take education and information going out in the community. Hey, we need your support on this, because I think you're right. It wouldn't happen just on its own.
This is a question actually for the horse community and what you were mentioning about equestrians coming up to ride here. I kind of had the impression that the tunnel was a barrier for horses.
No.
It's not, okay.
No.
We just now, we didn't used to have to, but we have this now, but yes, we go through it.
Okay, so then you do have access. When you said you had access to all these other trails, people had told me you couldn't, that, you know, it was too hard for the horses. Okay, good, that's, okay. Thank you.
So my name is Carol Bronis. So, just looking at what you're proposing, having traffic coming through there, you've got trails coming in over here, you've got people coming through, you've got people coming down the sidewalk. It seems to me having cars driving through where all of that is going on is not that great an idea. So my husband was down there this morning and he said, if people are hiking, what's the difference of hiking up to the top of the hill? It's, you're hiking anyway. It's, you don't have to park there. So we have the picnic area, which is one possibility, and there are trails there. There's also on the other side of the street, there's that Loma Linda play area. There's a lot of space there. There are a couple kind of dirt roads over there. So there is a lot of space. It's close by. I can see sledders with little kids, don't want to have to lug stuff down the hill, but you know, if you're going hiking, doing that extra walk it's not that big a deal, but I think having traffic going through there with all those trails crossing is not a good idea.
And just to clarify, none of this is proposed. This is all existing. The black line is just the existing asphalt, just to clarify. This is just all existing.
It's very perfect.
And I would also opine to, this is great. I believe if you're gonna hike another couple hundred yards, it's not great. But if you go to the reservoir trail any weekend and see how many cars are parked along the side of the road after DOE, not the county, block that little bitty parking area there. We have the ice rink parking lot, and how many people still park on the side of the road? So I agree with you. But it's tough. If you were next.
Jim Martin. I like the idea of just walking a bit further. I think an important part of that would be to landscape it so it feels like a hiking trail and not just walking along the road. So you can, you know, really feel like you're starting your hiking experience almost right away.
Now, what location are you talking about coming from?
If they move the trailhead to, what is it, the North Mesa picnic ground.
No, so what we're showing is number 4.
That's right, so you had to walk, I mean, no one wants to walk along the road.
No, they don't. But that is a paved system. So maybe we need to look at the distance of that, so we can bring that information to the conversation. Like what, you know, what is actually, and just to let you guys know, I'm a hiker, biker, and lifelong horseman. I still have horse. So all of these issues are near and dear to my heart. Yes.
Garth Reader. First question. Where does the desire to put parking down in the bottom of this come from? Where is that coming from? Is that a design requirement?
It's not a desire or a requirement. It's just. We're dependent on what the capacity need is. So if we're wanting to increase capacity, that, it doesn't sound like that.
No, that's not the question. Why is it down in the bottom? If you need to increase capacity, why are you force fitting it into a space that it's not viable for?
We're not there yet. We're not.
Okay, well, I have a little bit of concern because as I've seen many of these processes go, you hear these listening sessions and then the project goes to the project managers in a black hole and it comes out not looking anything what the listening session has put forth to you guys. And to be quite honest, I'm very skeptical about what's going to come out of this. You know, because I think honestly, I think there's preconceived notions on this project already. That's what I'm hearing. Thank you.
I'll just,
Not against improving parking, just you don't wanna see it go down there. But kind of what I'm hearing.
If you want, you separate the automobile from the people.
You need to separate the automobiles from the users. If you have to walk another 100 yards to the trailhead, so what? It's a safety issue. There's been bad wrecks at the bottom of that hill, rollovers, all sorts of things. People parking on the wrong sides of the road and not being ticketed. It's ludicrous. Even if you put 20 more parking spaces down there, you're still not gonna have enough.
Thank you. And again, nothing's been decided. I'm picking up that a lot of people aren't that interested in exploring an option where there's parking down below. I think the only reason why that was given a voice was that if there was a need for a horse trailer turnaround, that's where you have the most real estate to work with. But feasibility wise, again, we're not there yet. We don't have topographic information. We might get that back and be like, yeah, 100% we can't do it without it costing way too much money.
Yeah, my name's Kevin Fullsample. I'm also a member of the Open Space Working Group. Actually, an idea came from a Parks and Rec board member. I don't remember the fellow's name who came to one of our meetings of looking at the North Mesa picnic area. And I think that one of the problems, and it's kind of like what the gentleman just mentioned, is the trailhead doesn't by necessity have to have parking. I do not propose moving that trailhead. I think the trailhead there is fine, will continue to serve the function of being a crossroads for many different trails. You got the trail going under the tunnel all the way back toward town. You've got the trail, pedestrian crossing, two of them to get to trails over in Walnut Canyon. Then you have all the bio trails there, and then you have the walking route, which could be a great trail going up the hill to the, and it's already been recommended by our group certainly for equestrian access, that get improved to take care of this problem where nobody would take a horse down that sidewalk. So I think my vision for the area that you've shown on the map is closing off the existing kind of gravelled area, and reclaiming some of that, particularly down there in the canyon bottom, make that a very nice natural area. No one's saying it's wilderness, but it could be a very nice natural area without a parking lot and without a road going down to it. Then use all of those resources. And also, if you talk about a pit toilet, all that already exists at the North Mesa picnic grounds. Use those resources to make that short, very steep section a viable section for horse travel. All of a sudden, I don't know, I was out and our group walked that with a number of the equestrian community, and it looks like it could be turned into a real asset for people wanting to go from the stables to have another way to get to that crossroads and get to all of those places that you can go from there if you fix that short section of steep sidewalk or give an acceptable alternative to that. So I think there's probably other alternatives. Echoing what the gentleman just said, too many times, instead of looking at the problem we're trying to solve, which is improve parking, improve amenities, we jump to a solution to say it needs to be there, as opposed to can we use parking and pit toilets and picnic tables that already exist in a big flat area where you can turn around, could design and can turn around horse trailers much more easily and make a much better arrangement for the community. I have provided this input, I'll provide it to you guys, but I measured it, it's 0.4 miles from the picnic grounds to the trailhead sign that exists. So again, I don't propose a little bit different from what Jerry said. I don't propose moving the trailhead. I propose having the parking be in a different place than where that trailhead is and make it very nice there.
Just to reiterate, your suggestion is to just close off access from North Mesa entirely to vehicles? Like where that number,
To the gravel area where people park now. There's no need to have parking necessarily there.
you say gravel area here?
Yes.
Sorry, what is, okay, but you're not saying just close it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
No parking
at number two, you're saying where number two is just
Yeah.
closed off.
And you may have to put signs to direct them up to the top of the hill.
One other thing about that is part of what, I think there's a great opportunity for some accessible trails to be, I think there's a
Great opportunity for some accessible trails up on the mesa. Where on existing social paths in Loma Linda Park. And when you walked it, there's just a beautiful little area before you get to that steep part. That could be a terrific accessible trail that could be accessed from the picnic area.
I invite you to draw that. On here,
I will send you, I'll send you, it's all drawn. I don't know why that may not have been provided, but that's input I've already provided.
Okay, we'd be happy to have access to that. Or you could just do
Yeah,
a
I'll-
little diagram on here. Whatever.
Draw it on there for you. After that.
That would be great, right there.
But, yeah, I'm not a road engineer or a parking lot engineer, but, you know, as you're coming from the picnic grounds, the North Mesa picnic grounds, heading toward the roundabout, the last curve before it to the, from the northeast to west direction, there is a mesa there that I think could probably accommodate 15 or at least 15 parking spaces. First,
That's over here by number 4. Is that what you-
it would be further uphill from that. When you're in the area that would make it great accessible.
Same area that just.
It's, yeah,
Oh, it's by the water tower.
yeah, farther down.
Yeah.
It's right, it's right at your sharp curve.
Yeah, you got it right there.
Yes,
That's it.
yes, right there. I think that is suitable for parking spaces there. Just needs an access to the North Mesa Road. The access from that location would be no worse than the access for current parking area.
or you could go up a little farther and just park over by Long Linda.
Well, but then you have to cross.
Yeah.
That's all, but this would be on the correct side of the road to access this. The existing.
But an ADA trail there would be really nice.
It could be, an ADA trail could be down, there's already signs.
Let's let this conversation come back to us in a second.
Hey, my name is Lisa Reeder, and originally, I think one of the ideas for this came out of two things. One is safety, because those of us with horses drive from the roundabout up to the stables every day, twice a day, if not more often. And especially during sledding season, or when there's, mountain bike, festival or something going on, it's really unsafe. The road it's very difficult to see. There are kids running back and forth. So safety, and then also, as Lloyd said, a place for horse trailers to park. So it seemed originally like a very good idea. But then Mr. Holzapfel got a hold of us. And we started thinking differently. So I would draw it back to what Mr. Cowan said. There is a lack of coordination between the 4 parks master plans going on North Mesa right now. We have the turf and ball field realignment. We have the North Mesa Park master plan. We have the North Mesa picnic area master plan. We have this. And, and frankly, the stable area has not had a master plan. So there are 5 large recreational areas on North Mesa Park, and we have multiple consultants trying to deal with them. So I think that's one of the largest issues, is that there's a lack of coordination and coordination between what we want to see on the mesa as a whole for recreation. That being said, I support the idea of having the horse trailers stay up above on the picnic grounds. I think that's a very easy loop in and out. That would, there's bathrooms there already. There are outer trails. I would think that perhaps the disc golf would like to move across to the Loma Linda Park. I would not want to try and displace the disc golfers. They've worked really hard to get what they have over there. But Loma Linda, you know, there's not a whole lot of them. It's slightly underutilized. And I think that the people who support leaving that Loma Linda Park as a fairly natural park would not object too strenuously to the disc golf going over there, but that would be another larger discussion. I believe you should close the parking at that trailhead. And, you know, put bollards, put whatever, put no parking signs, tow people, ticket people, they'll get the message. And then as far as ADA, those of you who know me, I have a daughter, we have an adult daughter in a wheelchair, we are very pro ADA, but I do agree there are certain areas and certain things that simply do not need to be accessible. But if the disc golf course went over there and the North Mesa picnic area, ADA accessibility was improved, I think that goes a long way. There are nice trails along the outer edge of the picnic area that could be made accessible. So, but yeah, let's get a little coordination between these plans. Thank you. Thank you.
Jim Martin again. I'm actually thrilled about the idea of making an 88 layout trail there, maybe from 1, 2, 3, maybe even one endpoint would be where the existing parking lot is now. I can just see a beautiful place with benches, people to sit out and look over. Then the second question is really consideration, I don't have an opinion, is snow management. If you did have a road going down into the bowl, what would be the policy about snow management down there?
I just don't think we're at that.
No,
Yeah,
I realize that.
yeah, I couldn't answer that question honestly right now. It's again, we haven't made any decisions. Yeah, that level of investigation is just not where we're at. And, we're getting a lot of good feedback from you all right now about where your head's at. And, I guess one question for the group, since safety is a concern, and it sounds like with the sledding hill in particular, you got people parking across the street with kids, having to cross North Mesa Road, like how are y'all kind of reconciling that in your head about not providing parking? I don't know, I'm just kind of curious.
There is parking, you have to walk a little bit to get where you're going.
So we're just not, it's just not top of mind concern that you're having to take families across North Mesa Road.
Picnic grounds are on the same side of.
I'm talking about. Just to clarify, maybe I'm confused. My understanding is people will park along this and then cross.
But put up these signs, and like they said, ticket them.
If you park at the picnic area or up on the top of the mesa, you can park on the same side as the sledding area, so all you have to do is cruise down the sidewalk.
Hmm.
You
Okay.
don't have to cross the road. It's not safe the way it's being used, I'm totally agree with that.
Okay. I think I understand, thank you.
So we're back to this, location I'm just gonna call 5.
She's pointing out this, oh, I'm sorry.
Is that,
Go ahead, you were clarifying something, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, just to clarify, I think. We're talking about this bend where sounds like maybe there's a flatter area, you're saying you can park there and walk down?
Picnic grounds.
From over here, number 4.
I don't know about your numbers, but picnic grounds are just 0.4 miles up the road, on the same side of the road as the trail.
Okay, interesting. Sorry, can we go to the slide previous to this one? Sorry, yeah, okay. So North Mesa Picnic Grounds, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying people who want to sled with their families, you're gonna walk. Is that right? Okay. I just want to make sure I'm hearing, understanding. Okay.
And then, yeah, parking on top, yeah, that would be good. And, it would be really a big dream, it's been a big dream of mine for a long time, to get a big culvert under
Bronca Road so that we don't squeeze through that tunnel, which gets smaller and smaller, it seems. And so if there, you know, that would make it even more useful for everybody, for wherever you're parked. And also one more thing about parking and trailers. Everybody's just kind of thinking horse trailers, and I think horse trailers are gonna wind up parking in stable area if they're coming out. But anyway, the trailers that are there already are the bike touring companies that have trailers and their support to the bike companies. I see them all the time, parked there, especially in summer and fall.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to make an additional comment about that very steep section of road that's immediately east of the roundabout. And the sidewalk is right there in immediate adjacent to the road, that very, very steep part that goes to the current parking lot. And I think I haven't thought big enough. I think that the way to address that, to get the trail away from the road and better surface and better slopes, I haven't heard anybody say it, is switchbacks. So I'll just say the obvious thing, we should think a little bit bigger, a little wider trail, and think about getting away from the road when you get into that dangerous area where it's really steep. And widen the shoulder of the canyon adequately so you can have switchback trails that are not on slippery surfaces and that are less steep. As an option to get people safely down if they are parking up higher and get down to that trail area.
Are you talking about this?
Yes, I'm talking about that steep area right there. It's only 50, 60 yards long. And it's at the maximum width for the grade that exists. But if you widened it, you could get the trail away from the road and you could change the grade so it's not so steep. And you could not have asphalt or concrete to slip on. So that's just a thought that I'd like to see us write down.
Thank you.
Jim Martin again. This is just throwing out an idea. You don't have to answer. But one thought is, I think it's unrealistic and kind of, well, to have to think that little kids are gonna wanna walk a quarter, 4 miles through probably crusty, icy snow and maybe ice when it's sledding season to get to a sledding hill. But what about considering having the main trailhead be up the North Mesa Park, but keeping the existing trailhead seasonally open, so if it is skiing conditions, you'd open the gate and allow people to park there, just for sledding. The other idea to keep that one area might be just for ADA only, ADA parking only.
Thank you.
So I can understand parents not wanting to have to haul their sleds and things down, but that road is dangerous. If there's ice on the road at all, it's incredibly slick. It's hard to even stop at the bottom. And having people crossing there is just plain dangerous.
Sounds like that kind of gets back to the idea of having a way to control the shoulder that's across the street from the existing trailhead so that people aren't parking there and crossing on there.
I'm being intrigued by your idea, June. Having a guardrail, but with a gate and a very seasonal parking lot where Public Works or whatever would come and open that gate when there is sufficient snow for sledding. And people could then drive down and park down below for sledding only, and then have it, the gate will close again at 5:30 at night, and please don't be behind it or you'll get locked in. But a seasonal parking lot is an interesting idea for the sledding.
Here.
Just a comment that if you did have a seasonal parking lot just for sledding, then it wouldn't need to turn around for horse stables. It could be a lot smaller and more compact.
Any other comments? Any other questions you guys wanna get clarification for?
Do we have anything coming in from online?
Yes, we only have one online attendant. Mr. Bowman, if you would like to make public comment, or feel free to just jump right in.
No, sorry, Linda, I don't know if you can hear me, but I've just been listening and I don't really have anything to add. I think there's been a lot of good comments. I find some comments about coordination between the different efforts, but I have nothing that hasn't already been said to add. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Kevin Holsap again. I think the coordination is really a key. Couple things that occurred to me that didn't come up when I hike. I often actually prefer to park, say, over by the cemetery, or, use the trails to get to that trailhead and access and do loops. I think another place that I don't know how it rates, but I know the county is doing a new fire station project right along Diamond Drive, and there's a paved trail that leads right out to the tunnel and comes right into this area. Things could be looked at from that direction, but I'm not proposing anything in that, but just pointing out that there's a lot of different ways to get to that trailhead and a lot of different places that can be, where someone can park to get there if they choose to do that. So I think it's a bigger question of really looking at what are the alternatives. I think money should play some role in this. Shouldn't just design something and then say, well, it costs $3 million, let's go approve it or something. I think doing things that are cost effective will rebuild trust with a large swath of the community. So putting money into things that don't have long-term maintenance consequences. You build an intersection, you build a little road down into there, that has long-term maintenance cost implications. If you build a pit toilet, that does. So again, doing things, using the maintaining and using things that we have, I think the community would value that.
Thank you.
So I have a question because I know a lot of you have been here, got deep roots here. Why was that a trailhead in the first place? Does anybody remember why that was started as a trailhead, what the thinking was? Well, I get that they see the nexus of it, but it's also a place for people that don't want to do a longer trail. Everybody has a bigger trail, so I was just curious. So you know somebody that might have the answer? It'd be interesting to kind of hear that. Did they think about this as a starting point to access, or did that happen and then we added additional trails that didn't become as important? But we see it as important because there's a lot of cars that park there now.
So I think it happened organically. Yeah, because these things happen.
Well, the other point is the roundabout wasn't there, and I think that's what makes it more dangerous, because cars never stop. If it was an intersection, it'd be different. And the other thing is, is I know county council has suggested this too, is having options, so it's not just this or that, you know, this or nothing. But then, you know, I think people would really appreciate is okay to ramp up in cost and complexity, but at least you have a choice then.
And you will. We're charged with developing, our next step will be 3 concepts. We'll be reviewing all of your comments with the county, and then we're gonna get lots of site information. We also have a survey up, so we encourage you to, use the QR code. It's, I believe, it's on one of our boards, and it's also online. If you go to the parks website under park development. So we really want to get additional information from that survey, so we can, you know, look at some of the statistics of it and pass the word around. I think we're leaving it up for 3 weeks. So, we, you know, in the meantime, we will be busy collecting a lot of data and getting out on the ground and looking at some of these other locations that you've raised for connections or optional trailhead parking, and document some of that and go over the county with potential options. So there'll be at least 3 concepts, and it might be a mix and match kind of program. And I think an important part is gonna be, with our civil engineer, looking at the feasibility of moving, getting down into that lower area with a horse trailer. And I appreciate pulling a gooseneck and trying to maneuver around, takes a lot of space. And, that may not be the best place for them. But I wanted to make sure if there's any other user groups that, we haven't had a word in this process tonight, to please let us know, and we can, you know, reach out to those, organizations or what have you, so.
Letters, talk to the kids.
How do you find them? At the school?
On Facebook.
Moms on Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get on the Facebook. Anything else?
I just wanted to point out that there is, before you get to the cemetery, so it's actually kind of on the southeast side of the cemetery, there is an area there where a lot of people park. So, you know, you don't have quite as good access to Bayo Canyon because you have to walk back to the traffic circle. But that area actually is access to quite a few trails from over there also. So, I mean, maybe we need to consider, is this not where the trailhead should be?
Wow. Along those lines, maybe one thing the county could do is emphasize that there's other places to park. And have signage up there too, and kiosks with maps.
I do agree with you, Corey, though, that you had pointed out that this was a solution to use existing parking areas at the ice rink for the reservoir trailhead, and then that has, it's disappointing to me as someone who is willing to go places on foot, that people are not helping with that and helping make that happen. So I do think part of having parking somewhere else, that's kind of a new concept for us as Americans, but I think that it's important to start shifting, and that we would have to have like an education piece and an encouragement to participate in a solution that doesn't involve just adding more parking. I totally agree.
I agree with you about the reservoir. Carlos Sartor, who's the laboratory trails manager, has told me that DOE has a long-range plan to add some parking, in what I would call inside the gate, for the reservoir. And they have, another phase of improving the trail from the, ice rink over there, so in the works.
All right. So, you wanna look at this? Probably by Friday, this will be up on the project page. You can review it. Send us comments, send them comments, got the survey. Probably we're looking somewhere early April, maybe late March, coming back for the next iteration of this conversation. There are 3 or 4 other projects going on, so pay attention, so you don't want to jump the wrong meeting. And then I think with the coordination, this one is the only one that there are not professionals from a group that are looking at. Site Southwest has been involved in all the other projects that we've done, even in the artificial turf study. So there's been that consistency. There's been staff consistency. And I can tell you, there's a lot of faces in this room that have been in all those meetings. So if there's an issue that we haven't brought up, it's kind of on us to keep those conversations going at each meeting. Hey, we talked about this over here. Again, we briefed them on the conversations that we had about North Mesa. We can brief the North Mesa group about the thoughts about parking. We didn't have a large contingency of the disc golf at the last meeting. So we need to do a better job of getting those folks out. And really, we just want something that our community loves. The reason we started this is council gave us a mandate to take care of what we got, and we knew this was a problem. There's better mouse traps, we're okay with that. I'm still a little shocked about the conversation about having your children walk almost a half mile. But we'll get through that and get more conversation. I get it. We should change our ways, if you're gonna go hiking, what's another half mile? But it's interesting. Any final thoughts before, we let you go? Thank you for spending your evening with us. All right, Jerry, bring it home.
Just one thing about the, parking and using existing facilities for a trailhead, or at least the parking for that. We do a great job in this county of making trails. We've got tons of them. And connector trails, I mentioned this earlier, from Bayo all the way out to Quaggy Mesa for both equestrians, bicyclists, and hikers should be a priority. But we could also look at adding connector trails for hikers from the picnic grounds straight down into Bayo Canyon. That would be cut off instead of making them hike all the way over. I mean, these are just solutions that could be found. I still think a 4/10 of a mile isn't much of a hike, so I don't see where it's a big problem, but you could make a more attractive path down into Bayo Canyon from the picnic grounds. I used to do that all the time before I realized I should really stick to the trails instead of trampling all over everywhere. But those things are possibilities also.
All right.
Always something more to say. So another thing that hasn't really been considered is on the other side of the traffic circle by the golf course. There is room over there. Sometimes there are people that park over there. I mean, I understand, kids don't want to walk the quarter of a mile, especially after they've been sledding. But I mean, that's just something else to consider. There is land over there, at least some people park over there. The problem then is you would have to figure out some way to get them across the street safely. But I think that possibility of parking, sledding people over there should at least be considered and saying, is there some way we could make that work? At the edge of the golf course?
Yeah, or just even going up standalone lawn, so those people park along there anyway.
On the other side of the road of the golf course?
Yeah. No, I wasn't outside for us that. Well, that would be the issue, is figuring out how to. I think across. But running across North Mesa Road is.
How about a hawk signal? Oh,
Is that
No, I mean, a signal intersection was a good comment we can throw in there.
Yes. I do, I'm not kidding. Yeah.
I mean, even the deer used a lot of this.
You could always consider parking. On the other side of the tunnel. And come off of Club Road.
All right. I know y'all are gonna have these ideas at 3 o'clock this morning, so. You got our information. If you don't have a way to contact myself, Wendy, Eric, me, I think you all know us. You can send your thoughts to. If you don't, we'll grab you a card before you leave. Thanks again for coming and spending your evening with us. And, we appreciate you participating in this, new adventure. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.